Hello and welcome to this mini lecture to the societal impact of innovation supported by technology. During this mini lecture, I would like to introduce to you the social return on investment method. And this method we will use in our resample project to evaluate the societal impact of our innovation. My name is Stephanie Jansen-Kosterink and I'm a researcher at Roessingh Research and Development. In every product and project, the aim is sustainable implementation, and we would like to turn our brilliant ideas into reality. But this is only feasible if all stakeholders are aware of their added value um, given or provided by the innovation, such as the resample technology. And it's also important all these stakeholders are aware of their, but also each other's added value, because this creates the commitment that you need to come to growth and sustainable implementation into the healthcare sector. As I said, the method we use to assess the societal impact is the social return on investment method. And this method is international validated. And the definition of this method is written on the sheet. It's a framework for measuring and accounting for the much broader concept of value. It seeks to reduce inequality and environmental degradation and improve well-being by incorporating social, environmental, and economic costs and benefits. So it doesn't only focus on growth in a financial way, but in a much broader way. And that's why this method is so interesting and also so suitable to assess the societal impact. Let's give you a sneak peek into this method. And it's not feasible to make you an expert, but in the following minutes, I hope you get some insight what this method, what we can do with this method. The SROI method follows 7 principles, and the process contains 6 steps. And when we look at these principles, it's important to involve all stakeholders, to understand with each other what changes, to value what matters, to include only what matters, to avoid overclaiming, to be transparent to each other, and to verify your results or our results. And these are the principles that help you through the 6 steps of the SROI process. And during the upcoming sheets, I would go through the steps with the resample project in our head. So the first step is to establish scope and the key stakeholders. And this can be done by means of a theory of change. So together with each other, we have to establish the theory of change, or the thing that we are changing in healthcare by adding resample to healthcare. And next to this, we have to decide with each other what the main stakeholders are. And in my experience with this SROI method, there are 3 types of stakeholders. So there's the patient, the user, there's the provider, and the one who pays. Most of the time, an insurance company or government. The second step is to map the outcomes. So based on this impact map and the list of stakeholders, we can decide on, for every stakeholder, which input is valuable and matters and needs to be addressed. Next to this, we also create a list of outputs. And these outputs also are not only focused on things that we can measure in big trials, but also more soft outcomes like quality of work or self-management skills, or that someone experience less burden, not only a patient, but also an informal caregiver. But also for a hospital, you can address things like an innovative character, or or that that a hospital is focusing on research for a certain target population. So we have to map all those inputs and outputs, and we have to decide which one are important and are in. When we have all those in and outputs, we have to find evidence and value the outcomes. And this can be done in different ways. So we can do desk research and search into literature to numbers that are known, and we can use them within our own social return on investment method. Next to this, there are a lot of proxies, and these databases give a lot of information on certain changes due to innovation or innovations that are quite similar to ours. Of course, we can consult our stakeholders and ask what they expect, what they think the changes will be. And the thing what we also going to do within the Resample project is that we can do research studies to figure out what exactly the changes are in the in and output. After we have done this, we have to establish impact. And this is a very important step within the SROI method. And impact is an estimation on how much of the outcome would have happened, regardless of the innovation, and what proportion of the outcome can be isolated as being added by the innovation activities, taking into account dead weight, attribution, and displacement. So within this step, you have to be very conservative, but also very transparent on which part of the increase, for instance, in quality of life, is due to your innovation, because there can be dozens or hundreds of other things that also changes this quality of life, or another outcome that's important in your calculations. When this impact is established, then we can calculate at the end the SROI. And in general, there we have some benchmarks concerning this SROI ratio. A ratio of 1 means that we have to stop because the innovation is not livable, or it's not promising enough to get this commitment between the stakeholders. When there's a ratio between 1 and 2, there is, and it's a very conservative SROI, then you should continue. When there is an SROI ratio between 2 and 6, then you have a valuable product, and you should continue with this innovation, especially when there is commitment between the stakeholders. When the SROI is higher than 6, then probably you did something wrong, because then it's too positive, and you should think, or you should rethink the steps you took and see if there are some mistakes you made, or maybe you were too optimistic. And at the end, the final step of the SROI method is to report, use, embed. And within this step, you have to decide with the group of stakeholders how you want to report the SROI. And the figure you can see on the sheet is the way how we do it at RRD. So we give a very simple figure with the main output, or the main input, the main output per stakeholder. And for instance, in this example, the SROI ratio is 2.66. And it gives every stakeholder a very good view what the main value drivers are for him or her. So that was in a nutshell the SROI method. And it's also important to know that there are 2 types of SROIs. So there is this forecast SROI, and this is based mainly on desk research and has prospective in nature. So this is a very nice method to do in the first stages of innovation or in a project like Resample, and that's what we are aiming to do. Then we have the evaluative SROI, and this is very suitable for a final stage of an innovation or a project like Resample, as the evaluative SROI analyzes is retrospective and is based on the actual outcome achieved by an innovation. And that's why that we will follow both ways of calculating an SROI, but the forecast SROI will be done within the first year, and the final one will be at the end of the project, because then we gained a lot of knowledge also during all the activities within work package 7. And the evaluation of societal impact is part of task 7.4 within the resample project. And within this task, we also need the input of other work packages. And the main input especially for establishing this impact map is the work done in work package 2 on the service model. So based on the service model, we can figure out what input and output we have to list for every stakeholder. But also we need the input from work package 7 on the evaluation part, and especially to mature our outcomes and to make the transition from a forecast to an evaluative SROI. So I'm very looking forward to this process and see how we can mature our forecast SROI. And of course, the outcome of the SROI can also help work package 8 and can be input for the exploitation and the business plans. So this was, in a nutshell, not only the SROI method, but also how we are going to use this method within the resample project. If there are any questions concerning this method, please contact me and let me know what you want to know. I'm really looking forward to using this method within our resample project and see what the societal impact of our innovation will be and at the end is.